Okay, well, one of the things that I've always noticed about 3D visualization or visualization in general is that we're limited to the 2D plane. So if you think about it, you've all seen visualizations before. We have the, line charts, bar charts, pie charts, everything you can think of. They're usually on a display, and there's, one at a time or multiples on a page each. And we've seen that there's been some attempts to bring 3D or visualization into a 3D space, but it's really become kind of, just sort of putting the same bar chart in 3D in front of you that you can walk around or manipulate, but you can't really be a part of it or interact with it. So my desire has been to actually take these types of spaces around us and actually turn them into the visualization itself. So what I aim to do here is create a very simple one inside of the Edstutia space. And this is basically the x-axis, if you want to think of it that way, would be the one that runs along with the chairs. And then your y-axis would run along, the other edge of the carpeting area, with your stone path being the line chart as you might think about it. So that instead of just viewing it, you can actually walk in and begin to explore the space. Now this space is very simple because I could only bring in so many objects and do so much with them. But some of the things that I would like to be able to do. Is there a question?
No.
Oh,
Interesting.
Okay. Yep. So you can walk around through it. And obviously, as I said, this is very simplistic. So you might think about this as like, say, the first 6 months of a visual. I was going to try to bring in all 12 months of a visual, but I ran out of object space. So I just limited myself to 6 months and just a few stones for the pathway area. However, the first question I want to ask is just one of the features I used. Is it easy to identify what the biggest and smallest points are?
Well, now that you've explained the x-axis and the y-axis, it kind of
Yes.
does make sense. Like definitely this is your smallest one is right at the start. I'm guessing this should be your highest point.
Yep. And actually, my smallest one would be right over here, the end one. I just shrank that one down, so it's probably a little bit smaller than the other.
What I think is really
Okay.
interesting about this is that it's different depending on where you look at it, which I think
Yes.
could be, I mean, if you don't factor that in, that could be problematic, but with prior knowledge of that, I think that could actually be a really interesting way to explore data from different sides, because that's
Yeah.
the hard part, right?
Yes. And certainly what I would like to be able to do that I couldn't just due to the space restrictions here would be to put signage, say on the posts, if it's by months, actually put the months on there. On the y-axis, what they mean. So in this case, it's I made them about increments of 5.
Mm-hmm.
What I was using is a rough estimation of Philadelphia's data for the last 20 years and their weather data. And what I did was I was able to get the information that showed me the highs and lows and the median temperatures per year by month. And then I calculated the number of years over the median temperature by month. So we can see that, if you're kind of along there, January, February, March, April would have had the most years above the median value. And this would be another great point to be able to put in some of that signage by saying, okay, yeah, put that over there by that lantern and say, okay,
Mm-hmm.
yep, this was the median value was this is how far above it was, and then even possibly, get to links or other information from there. One of the other things that, I could have been able to do is, if these were trees or some sort of other plant type thing, I could have been plotting rainfall and actually used the color of the leaves or the amount of leaves to show just, whether it's a dry or a wet climate.
You could also use the height of the tree.
Yes.
Another idea I was just thinking of with respect to what you've done right now, if it was possible, we could have each of these poles that you have that denote your X and Y axis. They could be color coded.
Yes.
So the stone and the pole could be a similar color, so they could kind of, understand which stone is for which month, for example.
Ah, okay. I like
Yeah.
it.
Because
And you,
like right now, if you see from your point of view, we see it there, but it's not easy to relate to which month it belongs to unless we go and like from here we view it.
Yes, I like that.
So if it was color coded, it would make it just easier, I'd say.
Yep.
one other thing that we've done a couple times that's always been interesting, and I think might add a lot of value here, is a rug map. That's, I don't know if that's an official term, but that's what I usually refer to it as. It's basically just a flat visual like you might have on a PowerPoint slide. That's where the original idea was, as a presenter's PowerPoint slide. But then we turned it into a flat 3D object so that I could put it on the ground like a rug, and then made it really big, and then had in that presentation we had people go stand on it, like stand on, maybe there's 4 choices or a line, a gradient line, and have people stand where they think it's represented. But you could also have people place maybe a marker or place the data. And that way you could add some of that structure, like you were saying, with the months or the years, by putting that kind of in the background. And then adding the objects on top of it. And maybe even make it interactive by having people guess, like, what distribution do you think this would be? And have them place them. And then you could go through and correct it and show them the way it actually is. That could be really interesting.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, I didn't know I could do that by bringing in an object that big, just replacing this or putting it over top of, this kind of carpeted area.
Yeah, I think we basically just, someone else did the Blender part for me, so I'm not sure what they did in Blender, but we just took her PowerPoint slide. She had a graph, like a pie chart graph, and we just put it, he put it in Blender to make it a 3D object, but it was still flat. He made it a circle. That's the part I don't know how. Somehow he made it a circle. And then we just uploaded it as a 3D object. And I stretched it so it was as big as a rug would normally be. And then kind of positioned it just like you have with the path so that it would be on the floor, and then locked it. So it was there for her entire presentation. And then when it got to that point in the presentation and she was ready, she moved and had people come on stage. And it worked pretty well.
Okay.
I think the format of it might look a little bit different for you. But I think that I'll look it up. That was an Ed Talk, not an ICXR presentation. So I'll see if we have a recording. That might have been before we were recording those. But it worked pretty well. It was interesting. One facilitation tip I would note if you're going to do that is to also put the exact same visual, put it up on the board like you're projecting it so that people can see it. Because when it's on the floor, it is kind of hard to see. But then, so they can kind of orient where they want to be or what it looks like in a more viewable format, and then put the objects on the floor. And to do it here in the main hall, because there's a second floor. So then one of us can go up to the second floor for you and take a picture so you get a bird's eye view of the data as well.
Yep, you're already stealing my thunder. I was going to
Oh,
say
I'm
that,
sorry.
The reasons I chose this room was because we could go upstairs. You want to come on up? And I'm realizing now I probably should have used the other side of the carpet.
Oh, to view it, yeah.
Yeah.
But I think if you want, we can move here.
Oh, yeah.
It's still far, The mid area doesn't have, yeah.
A pretty good view. So now you can see that it's, more of a line chart with the path flowing along it.
Correct.
Yep.
And I mean, I think definitely in VR, one of the advantages we have is using the Z-axis also to indicate any additional information we need to. So that would be great.
Okay, how am I doing on time here? Okay, not bad. I don't know how long you want to give me for waiting for Sola.
If you feel, I was wondering the same thing. So however long you want is fine. If you feel like you're wrapping it up, that's okay. If you have other things you want to share, it's okay. We have time for that too.
But we can go to the meditation dome too.
Okay.
And I have 360 videos.
Great.
And then we can talk a little bit more.
Okay, great.
Oh, I see Sola in here.
Oh, hey. Hi.
Hey, Sola, do you see us? The meditation dome from here?
Where'd she go? There she is.
Sorry, it's a little awkward moving in the desktop app.
Oh. Hey, you don't have the jump command, do you?
No, I don't.
Yeah.
Do we want to move to the meditation dome, Steve?
Sure.
Okay, great. So we'll all teleport to the meditation dome and we'll see you there.
Okay.
Meditation class or meditation circle?
The meditation circle.
Okay, we'll see you in the meditation circle then.
Sola already leave?
Nope, he's right behind you.
Sola, do you need any help moving to the meditation circle? I guess we're all going to. Okay.
No. Okay. It looks like we're all here. So let me bring up media. All right, hope everybody sees the big view now.
Yeah.
Boy, we seem very small in here.
Good. In the face of
Yep,
big data like this, we are small.
yes. So this is the same data that we were looking at. Only here what I have done is the trees themselves are spawned via the data. And I even just do a little apply a rotation to them type of thing, just so they don't all look the exact same. And I didn't do any scaling on them yet, but Ash, that was one item I was thinking about, was taking the smallest and the largest points and scaling them up and down.
Mm.
Yep. And then the path itself is also dynamically generated, so that it follows the tree line.
Interesting.
Yep.
Very interesting. Very cool.
Yeah. And then what I also like to be able to do is to potentially spawn in other objects, like, more tables, fountains, even possibly other visualizations that would go along with this data. So
Okay.
since this is looking at the median values by month of temperature data, it might be good to actually, whoops,
I'm sorry. I saw a screen in front of me and I closed it. I didn't realize it was for the 360 view.
oops, I'll just go back, bring it back again. So
Yep. Sorry about that, guys.
yeah, no problem. It's easy enough to bring back. So I think I was just saying that it would be nice to also spawn perhaps something that would show you the high and the low temperatures or the range of the values that are showing up.
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh.
One thing I would love to be able to do, but I was unable to figure out how to in time, is to actually put a river in here that follows it, and then use the river to show rainfall, so that if it dried up, it meant you were in a dry spell. If it was, running hard, it would mean that it was very wet that year, or it was, average very wet at that season. I could even possibly apply seasonal changes to the trees,
Mm.
where I'm changing the color or putting some snowfall on the ground, something like that. More of trees without leaves and snow on them and snow on the ground, and then kind of gradually move that over. And that's the type of thing I should all be able to do procedurally. Just, take some time to sit down and figure that out, and let ChatGPT help me, which was also a big aid here for coming up with this.
I love that idea.
Very cool.
Yeah. So what I'll also do then is I'm going to switch the 360 view here. We're going to go up to the bridge.
Ooh.
Yep. So now we can see that from higher up view. And I think this is always a good idea to add in visuals like this. So yeah,
Oh, yeah.
as you said, always take advantage of the x-axis.
The z-axis.
Excuse me, yeah, z-axis. Yeah. X if you're in Unity, Z if you're in
True.
Blender.
Very cool.
Yeah. So do you have any thoughts around, other things that you might like to be able to see here in a visualization like this?
I kind of like your idea of having the river that gives you the, let's say if this was your months, it gives you entire data of your month, but the trees indicate the monthly average.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
But the river would give you information regarding the temperature on a daily basis.
This is Oh, yeah.
Hmm.
So you can have like multiple information in one graph without overcrowding it, and they're relatable.
Yeah,
You
that
know,
would be
if,
very cool.
when you're on a desktop screen and you want to do that, you have these tabs that go, do you want information on a daily basis, on a weekly basis,
Just-
or a monthly basis? I think we can use VR, take advantage of VR, and you get all information on one platform.
mm,
And like as I said, you know, the tree's height would indicate your monthly average, so you get a
mm.
visual understanding of that
Hmm.
without having to switch off your daily information or whatever it was.
Yes. I've
And
also
that's
considered putting, do you
go
have
ahead.
something, Amanda?
No, go ahead, Steve.
Oh, putting something like a mountain range in the background
Mm-hmm.
and actually using its slopes to reference more data. So that's just another visual that could be used.
You could
I've
also
also,
use it for comparison. So that could be, say, your
yes.
last year's data. So when I'm visualizing from here,
Mm,
I can compare last year's data with this year's data.
Mm-hmm.
mm-hmm.
But at the same time, it won't be too contradicting like it would be
Mm,
on a 2D graph.
yes.
Yeah, historical data is exactly what I had in mind, so that you can really see the difference.
Mm-hmm. I've also found that instead of column charts, I can use actual columns.
Mm-hmm.
And I should be able to size and scale those dynamically.
Yeah.
And then another thing I like is the ability to use themes. So here, because I was looking at some weather data, I thought it would be good to use an outside type theme. But doesn't necessarily mean we always have to stay in an outside or a pastoral setting. I'm, able to change up the room. I could make this a closed room, an open room. It doesn't really matter. Go with, some sort of, ancient Greek setting or a sci-fi setting or
Depending on
business,
the kind of information you're trying to put forth.
Yes.
Very cool.
I love the
Now,
idea.
one of the,
Yeah, go ahead.
no, go on.
I love the idea of the environment changing. As I'm looking for you, I don't, for some reason, I don't.
Oh, I'm right.
There we go. You're behind us. Okay.
Yeah.
I love the idea of the environment changing too as the data progresses. So maybe if
Nice.
it's climate change data, if you're showing it over time, it starts out nice. And as you go along, it's a little more dystopian. Or one of the things people always say is, it's always a
Uh-huh.
nice day in VR. The weather's always nice. But I think that's actually a little weird. Um, I would love it if the weather changed or if that somehow, especially if we're working on something, think about for gamification, if we're working on some sort of climate change problem or game, and then as it gets more dire, the actual environment changes and reflects that. If that could be based on how well we're doing at solving the problems or whatever that is. I know that's taking it way, way farther. But I think that would be a really cool escalation of kind of like the ticker on a game that speeds up as you go along, and it in the background
Mm-hmm.
makes everyone a little more anxious. I'm thinking of a really immersive version of that. Very
Yeah.
cool.
Oh, yeah. So like if, say, instead of this being, by 12 months, it was by, I don't know, 50 years or something that, as you walked along it, if I'm reading your position and changing the environment as you move around through it. Yeah.
Yeah,
That
That
would
would
be
be
a
maybe
good
pretty
use
even
of
cool.
AI.
like a choose your own
Yeah.
adventure. If we make the choice to get
Yeah.
rid of cars, and then that affects how the environment
Ooh, yeah.
looks in 20 years, we can actually feel the difference.
Mm-hmm.
That would be very
Yeah,
cool.
it gets into, simulation work then, what
Right.
happens if we make changes to the game.
Mm-hmm.
That's a really interesting area that I would love to dive more into.
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously beyond the scope here, so it's not a criticism, but just a really interesting path that it could go that I see the potential here. The
Oh
beginning of
yeah,
something
yeah.
really
I
great.
could have. Yeah, I could have spent 6 months, working on simulations here and contacting a lot of people in the industry,
Yeah,
working together.
very cool.
I think that's some great stuff,
Sola, did
Steve.
you have any? I know
Thank
you
you.
joined late, so you missed the
Well done,
beginning.
Steve. This is beautiful.
Thank
Say
you.
again?
I know you missed the beginning, so I apologize for that. I just wanted to make sure. Did
No,
you have anything you
I
wanted to
should.
add?
No. I should apologize. When I saw your message at night, I thought of changing my what I need to work on. I was a bit confused. I can't lie to you about that.
Okay.
But I know we are working within a limited time. But I probably will have to think of something else because I don't think I have enough images to be able to grant the kind of immersive experience I was thinking I'll be able to give. So if I have few more days, we are closing down at the center today, so I should probably have more time. We still have some activities today. After today, we close down for the year.